We are back on Morning Line. Thanks for joining us. Our guest with us this morning, Jim Shulman. We have some calls coming in. He is the vice mayor. It's interesting, during the break, we were just talking about how it's all about money and what's happening. You know, if you like the downtown, you've been to the arcade, you love the House of Pizza, you love the peanut shop there. It's like stepping back in time. It's wonderful. But didn't you say some developer paid a ton of money to buy the arcade? There's leases, and I think that developer has said they want to kind of maintain the arcade as it is. But you certainly think for that kind of money, they're going to want to change things down the road to bring in more money, right? I mean, that's where you wonder when we see these other places like the Spaghetti Factory and Rotiers and all these others slowly but surely close.
Well, I don't think anybody comes in, particularly an outside developer, comes in and goes, I'm buying that because I love that and I want to keep it the same way. If they're going to put that much money into it, the question is, what do they want to do? What do they want to do long term? And again, we've had this discussion, old Nashville against new Nashville. You know, they're running up against each other, and are we, not that we can stop some of this, but are we creating a city that you and I are not going to...
Or that you could be blindfolded and dropped down in the middle of at any time and look around, and you would not be able to tell whether you're in Dallas, Charlotte, Nashville, because they all kind of look the same. You know, I mean, that's what it comes down to. You know, the Virgin hotel that was built downtown, it's funny, it was built where these two beautiful old houses used to be, one of which was my wife's office years ago. She worked there. And now it's just gone. It was part of the Music Row area. Gone. The new hotel looks nice. Now you know Nashville has arrived because we're getting a Ritz-Carlton in Sobro. I mean, it's boom town.
Look, I love the city. Always loved the city. I loved, you know, years ago when you could drive around and you could go, you know, to the peanut shop, to the donut den, all these little places around town, Prince's Hot Chicken. I mean, I remember going to all this stuff. Some of it, I mean, that stuff is still there, but it's getting pushed by this new development, and then you go down Broadway and it's like, where did that come from? Right,
something new every day. There's got to be a balance. I'm not someone sitting here saying, oh, the good old days, let's leave it as is. No, I understand a lot of this is positive. It's just, you know, the identity of the city, Music City, what it stands for, is part of the appeal. And we'll see. You're right. Moving forward out of the pandemic, that's key for us, where we go. Let's take a call from Ann, who you know always has thoughts on this. Ann, good morning.
Good morning.
Hey.
Unfortunately, I live on a street where one developer has taken over 4 properties, has done evictions during the moratorium, and has destroyed our street, basically. But the latest thing that developers are doing for homeowners that have extra properties in their eyes is to call code. And if we don't want to sell our extra rental property on our street, which is the case in my situation and a neighbor situation where we have rentals that we maintain, is to call code. If there's a car that has a wheel on the grass, or grass that is an inch too high in their eyes, or a trash can that has been left on the street a day too long. So along with the daily phone calls and the daily mailings that we get to, we want to buy your ugly house that you live in, and we want to buy your rental. Now we have to deal with code showing up on the street every day, which last week I saw 3 times on my street. So,
interesting.
We are being harassed by developers each and every day. And like I said, 2 people were evicted this year during the moratorium on my very short little street by the same developer that has purchased lots on our street and built new homes and kept rentals in the process. So these developers are coming from out of state and doing exactly what our vice mayor just said.
Interesting. And I feel for Ann in that neighborhood. I guess the idea, I think we all, I don't know if you've received some, but where I live out in Wilson County, I've had people send me unsolicited requests for selling, which I don't mind. I see it and I throw it away. I'm not selling. But I mean, sounds like some of them are getting badgered. You know, they can find ways to make it difficult for you to stay where you want if they want your property bad enough.
Well, a couple things. And probably know some of this stuff. a lot of times you have to be, what we're in a situation now is being reactive to a lot of this stuff.
Yeah.
It's not, I don't know if it's too late to be proactive, but one of the things that you can obviously do is you can rezone the entire neighborhood. Now, you can't rezone some of these places that have already been done, but if the street or if the neighborhood is big enough, if you want to protect it, talk to your council member, get your neighbors together and figure out if there's something that you can do to protect some of it so a developer doesn't come in and start just buying everything off. Now, when a developer gets in, sometimes it's too hard because people all of a sudden go, oh, I'm going to sell my property for a lot of money, make a lot of money. The problem is when they sell, where are they going to go?
Well, that's the big question.
Because that's one of the big issues. They're
you
going
have to leave the area. Really, otherwise you're going to spend everything you got
right.
buying a new place.
So one of the things that you can do, if somebody is picking off a lot, and this is where you get into the details of zoning. It used to be pretty simple. Now there's a lot of different techniques to use, but it's as simple sometimes as saying, if you're in a residential area and you want to only have single-family homes, you don't want to have the tall and skinnies, you want to try to stop that, there are different techniques that you can use, but you got to get your neighbors involved and you all got to come together and say, I want to protect my neighborhood. Yeah. And some people now are at the point where it's like, I don't want to protect it, I want to sell.
Yeah, I have a friend whose ex-wife sold her property. She put it on the market. It ended up selling for $100,000 over her asking price. It was a bidding war or whatever. And her idea is to sell it. She took the money and she's moving to Indianapolis, back close to her family. She's getting out of Dodge. She's taking all that money there. And Indianapolis is a fine town, but it's not Nashville, and the cost of living there is definitely less. Man, I'm wondering, nationwide, Nashville's cost of living. I know of someone that's leaving Nashville to take a job in Seattle. Yeah. And I was talking to my wife. I go, yeah, I wonder if he's getting more money up there. She goes, Nashville's more expensive than Seattle right now. And Seattle is a huge city, but I think Nashville, I mean, and New York City, you hear their property values are going down because people have discovered they can, you know, work at home instead of having to go into Manhattan. And so that's going, Nashville is getting to be one of the most expensive cities in the country.
Right. Right. And so what do we do? I mean, so those of us who have lived here for years, it's like, what happened to our city? It got taken over somehow, and now everything is so expensive, and now you can't find you can't find a house that you want to move to, or you get into a bidding war. That stuff is, I mean, we're just not used to this. How are we going to do this? And what does it mean in the long term? And then our situations, like you're talking about, people going like, you know what? I love this city. I loved it. But people are going like, I can go live someplace else and make a killing, get some money pocketed, and go someplace else and get into a place that the cost of living is better. It's not as crowded. I don't have to fight the traffic every time, and it's not just being overdone. And you know, you got to. I mean, we should be worrying about that, and we do. I mean, that's just it. I mean, I worry about it because I do. Particularly, again, I said during the pandemic, a lot of people are coming and saying, if we don't get a hold on this thing, this city is going to look completely different than it was. Yeah. And we're not going to remember what it used to be. And that should scare us because it's been such a great place. It's so funny.
I know you've lived here a long time. I moved here in '95. When did you move?
80. Well, I got here to school in 78.
78. Well, 95.
I was 3 then, but I was.
I still remember what it was like in '95, and downtown was dead. Yeah. It was dead, and I was like, they got to do something more with this, and they did. So I'm saying growth and stuff is good. It's to me, I think it's a far better city now than it was in '95. But now it's just, let's get some control on it, you know?
Well, smart growth, planned development.
Yeah, exactly. Let's take a break. When we come back, more phone calls. Joe and others, if you're there, the lines are open, 737-7587. Talking the city of Nashville with Metro Vice Mayor Jim Shulman, and any aspect of that moving forward right now. We'd love to hear from you. Questions, concerns, back after this.
This is a Storm 5 weather update. For weather on the go, download the Storm Shield app.
From the Storm 5 Weather Center, I'm News Channel 5 meteorologist Henry Rothenberg with a look at the overnight forecast here on the Plus. Quiet weather as far as Power of 5 radars.